magical of human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. This is Paranormal Frequencies. We want to welcome our guest, Bonnie Vent. Bonnie Vent has become an internationally known medium and channeler for her work with celebrities, both living and dead. As a spirit advocate, she has delivered messages for celebrities such as Michael Jackson, Steve Irwin, George Carlin, and more. She has also performed field research at historical sites to correct some of the well-known legends and assist the people involved in these stories. Simply put, delivering messages from angels, guides, and loved ones is just what she is naturally wired to do. And her services are available to you. And we do have her links down in the description box below, so you guys check out her information. Welcome, Bonnie. Okay, sorry, had the mute thing. Remember I told you I'm going to screw up the mute thing a little bit. Okay, welcome, Bonnie.
Don't mute me already. I haven't said anything bad yet.
So, yeah, welcome to the show. It's just a laid-back conversation. I think our group will absolutely love what you're doing. And so, yeah, it's a fun time. Sherry, I'll let you take it away. Thank you for getting Bonnie on, by the way.
Yes. I found Bonnie several years back, and for me, she was a big part of my journey because I'd had all the Michael Jackson experiences, and I really hadn't known anyone else that had had them yet at the point that I'd found her. And so I had a reading with her and everything, and I bought a Michael Jackson mandala from her, and that's what I use when I meditate with him. And anyway, she's just got some really neat things. She also channels a group called the Connection, and the messages are just so helpful and so powerful and profound. So I'm really excited.
I wanted to pull up this image of this mandala that you're talking about while you're talking, just so people can see. This is beautiful. These are children around it. It's the one you just showed us.
Yeah, but her picture is better because it's more clear. Mine was just a little screenshot, but that's the one that I love so much. And it's full of a lot of power and intention.
Awesome.
Do you want me to hold it up? If you can't get it online, I can.
Yeah, let's show some of your work, because I love mandalas, by the way.
And you can show the new Michael Jackson one, which I'm going to order as soon as I get off of here.
Oh, well, this is the new Michael Jackson one here.
Very nice. You might want to tilt it back just a little bit. It's getting the glare on it. There we go.
There
that looks beautiful.
And the thing that's really unique about this one is the little points, because they look like crystals.
They do.
Like on a wand.
I feel a lot of cosmic with that one more so than the other. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I'll let you in on a little secret. The colors from that purple color is actually from a shirt that Michael Jackson actually wore.
Oh, nice.
So his imprint, his image is actually within this mandala.
Now I know why I just had to have it.
So yeah, it's funny, the name of your show, because it really is all about energy and frequency. And that image imprints onto the photograph, which then I make into these art pieces. And that frequency carries forward.
I have full body chills right now.
So let me get the prior one. And that's this one right here.
Children, the little children that came
And the
out.
little children all have little crowns on their heads.
It's beautiful.
And it's very, very childlike and playful. And it's actually based upon a picture that was taken at Neverland Ranch.
It's beautiful.
When he lived there and he was happy, and when he was with Lisa Marie, to be really specific with you. It was a very happy time. And then some of my other ones really are just nature pieces. This is all made from, those are actual vines. So they're, and flowers. So it's all from nature. So the small ones are great for, as you say, meditation and things like that. But what I found was when I enlarged them and made them bigger, that the energy also increased. And so I've started making them 16 by 20 in a 20 by 24 frame that you can hang up on the wall.
Wow.
So it's a lovely piece of art, but it also brings really good energy into your home.
I thought of a present that I'm going to mail to you, but I'm not going to tell you. It's a secret. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so can you maybe tell us when was the first time that you started knowing that you had extrasensory perception?
It runs in my family, and actually found out later on in life that it runs in my family on both sides. I didn't grow up with my dad. And when I reconnected with him shortly before he died, I said to him, and oh, by the way, I'm psychic. And he goes, oh yeah, me too. No big deal. But it's also on my grandmother's side. My grandmother did tea leaves, and she did cards that she learned from a gypsy, which was a regular deck of playing cards. It isn't tarot. It's actually the regular playing cards are older, I believe, than tarot. And so they have their own meanings as well. And so I grew up around that sort of thing.
Well, see, being close to New Orleans like I am, you see a lot of older Cajun women that do it like that,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
It's
So
very, very old school.
what was your first memory of having something happen where you really knew that something, unique was taking place, or it was normal for you all along?
It was sort of normal in a way, but I was probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years old when I realized that adults were coming up to me asking me for advice.
Oh, right.
And it's like, and I always had something that made them happy. Whatever it was that came out seemed to satisfy whatever it was they needed. And so they'd go off on their merry way. And the other time that it really stuck out, well, the time I grew up in was very tumultuous. And so one of the things that I did was I would stare in candle flames. I'd be in my bedroom and I would use crayons. So I was 8, 9 years old, crayons. And back then you had those wine bottles that you could melt the wax over. It was kind of an arts and crafts type of thing. So I was doing that, but I was staring into the candle flame and letting the wax melt from the crayon onto the candle. Well, that puts you in an alpha state. So at a very early age, I learned how to get into alpha. And so it's a very natural process for me just to be able to flip into that state. And that is where it's peaceful and you're the most receptive. Later on, I went to in high school, everybody talked to me and I knew everybody's secrets. Everyone would talk to me one-on-one, but they disavow knowledge of me in the hall, you know what I'm saying? And when I went back to my high school reunion, it was funny because their perception was I was the most popular girl in school. And it's like, are you kidding? You people wouldn't even talk to me. But I was actually doing sessions with them. I just didn't know what it was. Wow. But I was always being sought out because whatever the information I provided, it was helpful to people. So it's really been a part of my life forever. Where it kicked into really high gear was 1986. I was working in an aerospace and defense company that worked on the shuttle. And when the shuttle crashed and they came in, you know, we had all of our records were taken and all of that. And it was up in the air as to whether or not we were going to be deemed responsible for the crash of the shuttle. And my personal life was going to hell in a handbasket. You know, that's when you have your most growth, is when you're in total crisis. And so it popped out there in a different way, because I was literally sitting at my desk, and I couldn't stop crying. And I'm looking at this pad of paper and a pencil, and I started staring at it. Just, I don't know, I was crazy. So I started staring at it, and it's like, well, I wonder if I can make that pencil move. And so I'm staring, and I hear this loud booming voice say, that pencil would move a lot better if you picked it up. So I pick up the pencil, and all of a sudden I start like drawing these pictures. And I am not that kind of artist. I'm a digital artist. I do not have the ability to draw. But the first drawing was a woman's shoe, high-heeled shoe. Well, that drove me crazy, because I'm very analytical. It's like, well, what does that mean? Never did figure out what it meant. Wow. So I got all these different like drawings, and they were making me crazy because I couldn't figure out what they meant. And so I said back to whatever this force was, that if you can draw pictures, you can write words. So write words to me so I know what you're trying to say. And what I didn't know at that time is it's referred to as automatic writing. And so automatic writing started happening. There again, I'm an analytical, prove it kind of person. So it's like, tell me something that I can prove out. And it's funny how simple that process can be. I mean, it's very elegant in a way, because at the time, my parents were moving and looking at this new house, and I'd gone over to this new house, and I was like in full like psychic high gear. And I was getting, you know, don't buy this house. It's not, there's something terribly wrong. But, you know, my parents already put a deposit down on it. So I'm sitting in my office and with my little pad of paper, and all of a sudden they write yellow marble. And it's like, yellow marble. Okay. Is that a toy marble? Or are you talking about marble tile? What kind of marble? A toy marble. What about it? Your mother has one. Okay, can I pick up the phone and call her and ask her if she has a yellow marble? No, she hasn't done it yet. So I just waited till the end of the day, and I went to my mom's house to pick up my daughter. And I asked her, I said, does a yellow marble mean anything to you? And she reached in her pocket and she goes, you mean this one? And I said, what made you have a yellow marble in your pocket? And she said, well, you were so like upset about this house we were going to get. And you said that the counters were uneven. So there was a game of aggregation, which is 4 blue, 4 red, 4 yellow, and 4 green. So they were all in a baggie. So she just reached into the baggie. She pulled out the yellow marble, took it over to the house that I told her the countertops were uneven, put the marble on the countertop, and the marble rolled off the edge, and she got out of the deal. Wow. So, okay, that's pretty compelling information.
Right.
You know?
So, with the mediumship, when did you start doing that? Like where it was, I mean, I get that that's still kind of like that, but when you had like people coming to you and you speaking through them or for them.
Oh gosh. I went through several phases, and I refer to it as touch and go landings, because I would lie in bed at night trying to go to sleep, and I would feel like presence, and they would, you know, like just stop in for a second and then leave. And I felt like I was being tested. My abilities were being tested to see who I could sense. I also had a sense that they were being tested as well as to whether or not they can make their presence known to me, as in a two-way street.
Right.
And so at one point, actually, my poor daughter, she was in the other room. She was in bed asleep. And we heard out loud, "Hi," really loud. And my daughter comes flying out of her room and she goes, "What was that?" And I go, "Oh, did you hear it too?" You know, it was really, really loud. And so I went through, like I say, that testing process, which to me, it's like they were testing the channel and how strong it was, how much I would tolerate. And there again, the elegance in the way that you're tested is very interesting to me, because at one point I'm laying there and I have my eyes closed and I get this image with my eyes closed. I get this image of this man's face and he's got long white hair. And he's like right here looking in my face. And he says to me, "Blink." So I did. And then he went away. And I thought, well, isn't that an interesting test? Because it's like, did you see me? Did you hear me? And are you willing to do what I asked you to do?
Wow. Yeah.
That one thing.
Right.
And so I went through all of that. And I got to a point where I was actually receiving the information faster in my head than I could write with the automatic writing. And I was invited to do a reading, a professional reading for this company that did professional readings. And so I had to do a reading for someone who already was a working psychic for this company. And they said, "You can't have the writing thing, it's too slow, because we charge people, you know, for phone calls and that kind of thing. So are you willing to do it without it?" And so that's like the ultimate acid test there too, to do a reading for another psychic and be accurate. And so I was hired for the job, and it was kind of a funny thing because I was sitting around with all these people when everybody had a phone and a little timer. And there, you know, somebody's got runes and somebody's got dice and somebody's got tarot. And, you know, I'm just sitting there with my little timer. And they're all looking at me like, you know, what's your thing? What's your thing? And I go, "I don't know. I don't have a thing. I just tune in and I, you know, give people the information." So it's I guess I would call it a step-by-step kind of process that gets you in alignment to where you're trusting in your sources, because you do have to be able to trust that you're protected and that you're getting good quality information. So that takes cooperation on your side and on their side. And I did have just one guide originally, and then it became this group, which is known as the Connection.
Yeah. Can you tell us about that? That's really exciting.
Well, my individual guide left for a while, which was kind of a scary time for me. It's like, where'd everybody go, kind of thing. And then this group came into focus, and I asked them who they were and to identify themselves. And they said, "We don't really have names, but we understand that you seem to require that where you are. So if you want to refer to us as the Connection, you may do so, but that's really their function, not their name." Okay. And then I said, "Okay, then, you know, what are you guys all about?" And I have a business background, and so I think it matters the visuals you get based upon your own background, because they want you to feel comfortable. And so they gave me the vision of a conference room table with these people sitting around the table, all of them experts in their particular area. And they then combine all of their information into one channel, which is me. So it comes from multiple sources down into one.
Wow. I just know the messages are beautiful. And y'all in the chat room, if you go to her YouTube channel, which is Bonnie Vent, all the messages are on there, and they're just Beautiful. In fact, I wanted to tell you, Bonnie, that one of your videos you had a picture of like maybe the space that Michael Jackson. It kind of looked from similar to what where you encountered him at or something, And my daughter had actually had a dream about Michael Jackson and me, and it not telling you the whole thing, but she'd said that he said, "Remember when your mom first brought you here?" And it was almost identical what she was describing to what you had a picture of. And I showed it to her, and she started crying and freaking out. She's like, "It looks
Uh,
just like that." So that was really a lot of confirmation for me. Although I do have a lot of confirmation with your work, so that's why I wanted to share you with everybody.
well, my work with Michael Jackson is very long standing too, because it goes back to literally hours after he passed away. And the first video I did, I think, was July 2nd of 2009. So it's been out there all this time, because there's a lot of people making claims about this one way or the other. But what you'll notice in the work that I do, well, he's done two modes with me. The original one was he needed my assistance in communication. And that's the spirit advocate side. And that's completely different than what you normally see with a medium who has a sitter. They refer to it as a sitter, but a customer, a client, whatever, that comes in and they want information about a loved one. This is going the other way. This is the spirit person asking me to assist them in delivering messages, which is much more difficult because the person who's to be the receiver of the message isn't sitting there in front of you.
Right.
And in the case of Steve Irwin, oh my gosh, I went through all kinds of rigmaroles for that. That's a whole long story all by itself in trying to deliver the messages. But what I have found is that I always seem to have connection points that cross my path that enable me to do the delivery of the message.
Yeah.
So even though I may not have, like when Michael Jackson passed away, I didn't know that I knew people that knew Michael Jackson. But I did. I knew quite a few, as a matter of fact, because one of the other things that I do is I book celebrities for personal appearances.
Oh.
And most of my celebrity clients are classic TV people. And Michael Jackson loved classic TV.
Yes, he did.
And so they had, he had been to their houses and, and all of that. But I didn't know that at the time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was Janet Jackson that was on Good Times when she was a little girl. Penny was her name. So I'm sure
Yeah.
you had some connections there. When was Michael Jackson the first celebrity that you spoke to, or when did you get introduced to speaking with celebrities, sort of being your client from the other, going the other direction, like you're saying? Because that's really cool and interesting.
Yeah, well, the first one was actually John Ritter, and John Ritter was trying to get information to, I said I wouldn't say who, to another celebrity, friend of his. And that was really like the first time. And then I watched what they did with the show, because he was full of all kinds of regret, John Ritter, about the fact that he died, and all these people are now out of work, all these people that were working on his show, because he was on an ABC current show at the time of his death. And he had some idea about how he wanted to direct the show from the other side, but he wanted to get information to this other person who had the ability to actually do that, or step in and do that.
Right.
And so it was interesting to watch, because they put the show on hiatus. And one of the things I'm trying to pull back, it's a long time ago now, it's like, 2003, I think he died. But one of the things that he gave me, because it's like, you got to give me something that nobody else knows. And that's really hard when you're a celebrity, because everybody seems to know or think they know everything about you. I said, you got to give me something to tell this person so that they know it's you. And So what he said to me, and I'm getting goosebumps, he said, tell him he can keep the socks. I don't need them here. Now that's pretty darn random, right? So I watched the show go on hiatus, and they decided they were going to bring it back. And when they did, and if you ever get a chance to look at it, there's like 8 references to socks in that first episode, including socks stuck to the bottom of the pillowcase. And I mean, there were socks like all over the place. And I went, oh my gosh, there's got to be an inside joke there. I just don't know what it is, but they do,
Right.
you know. And so I found out after listening to this other person who was supposed to, he did get the message, he just didn't want the message, okay? But I did get it, I did deliver it, so I did what I was supposed to do. But he did say that John Ritter had a tendency when he would pack to go somewhere, he would forget to pack his socks. So he was always asking this person who was supposed to be the recipient of the message, asking to borrow socks.
Wow. Yeah.
So tell me and keep the socks. I don't need them here. Okay, it's an inside joke and it's funny, right? Because he was a funny guy. So it also tells you that the personality remains intact as well, which is very interesting to me. You know, when we leave, that's what we all want to know. When we leave here, what happens next? You know, are we all okay, or is it dirt nap time and we're just gone? You know, but everything that I have experienced and worked on says that the personality does persist after we leave. And Michael Jackson came back much later on when he was more settled down. And we actually did some work together because he wanted to provide some information back on what it was like for him now on the other side. And he talked a lot about recreating the environment of Neverland Ranch. And they're again joking that it's so much easier because you just do it mentally. You don't have to have permits and construction workers and all this stuff to really build it like you do here. And one of the favorite things was the library. And so he kept showing me the image of the library. Well, of course, I've never seen the library at Neverland Ranch, but I did manage to find a few pictures. And it looked very similar to the visual that he was giving me.
Wow.
Yeah, so even he tried to come back and, you know, and we did a few sessions, oh gosh, several years ago now. And so he's been back again because there's been so much going on with his legacy and his reputation and all of that. And so we did a session with him just a few weeks ago where he came directly through on one of the Sunday shows. But there again, his message was not about himself as much as about people that are in the entertainment industry and people that are creative, and, you know, be aware of what's going on with the industry and stay independent and get your music out there and don't wait for, you know, just put it out there. So go back and listen to it. I don't remember a whole lot when I channel directly through like that. And one of the things, oh gosh, I guess it's been a few months ago, I had a couple of people here that actually were doing measurements while I was channeling, and I was channeling the connection. And I thought that I was kind of pretty much aware of what was going on, but I really wasn't as aware as I thought because he walked right across my line of sight to go close the door and walked all the way back, and I did not see him, and I didn't flinch. There was no recognition that I had walked past him at all. The other thing that was interesting was he had one of those temperature guns pointed at me, and when I started channeling, my personal temperature, not the room temperature, my personal temperature dropped 5 degrees. And when the channeling ended, it dropped 5 degrees again and came back up, and he sensed a warm air cross his back as the the channeling ended. So there's actually anomalous activity that goes on while I do this work as well, which I'd love to get more involved with that.
Yeah.
Because it isn't just a matter of taking my word for it. It's like, okay, what does this mean? You know, and you can really delve into it from a scientific side.
Oh, definitely. I think it's really a shame that he's passed away and people are still smearing his name after all this time. And I've seen that he's come through several times in different ways, and just having to defend himself. And you can really see once you kind of know the inner workings of what's going on in Hollywood, you can see why he was a target. It's not hard to see why. And I did post that video below because he likes his attorney, even here in the afterlife. It seems to defend him like he did when he was here on Earth. And that link that you posted in this last channeling session, I have that link as well as the one to what's the attorney's name?
Tom Mesereau.
Yeah.
Right. So I've got that. Since the movie came out now, it's like he's having to defend himself again. But go check that out. I think Tom Mesereau does a good job of explaining, sort of Michael, still defending him, for free. Of course, he's not like on retainer or getting paid from the other side or by the estate or anything. But he still knows he's a good man and he's still defending him. And I think it's a real shame.
Well, they have managed to debunk that so-called documentary. Michael Jackson refers to it as a film. He does not refer to it as a documentary.
Yeah.
And they have managed to completely dismiss any credibility that anybody thought was there. And so I hope people will check that out for themselves, because people have been told a lot of things. And if you just believe what you're hearing in the media, you could get a very wrong impression about what's going on. The truth is out there if you go looking for it. And they are trying to censor us. So please keep looking for it so that we can all stay alive doing what we're doing too. Because this is not necessarily information that mainstream media wants out there.
Right, mainstream's still pushing this alt narrative, and I don't know, it's just it's nice to see that the truth is there, but most people don't want to dig for it, unfortunately. But
just to give you a little insider baseball, I actually was asked to do publicity for somebody who really was a victim of child abuse, and he got the law changed for the statute of limitations in New York. And he was molested by a teacher, and the teacher admitted that he did this, and so it wasn't a question of whether it happened or it didn't. And he asked, could I help him get publicity for the fact that the law was changed? He wanted to go out and do speaking engagements. And so I contacted I used all of my contacts in mainstream media. Nobody was interested. And it's the same time they were smearing R. Kelly and Michael Jackson. Nobody was interested in his very real story and the fact that he had got a law changed. None of them wanted to talk about it. It was too heavy for morning TV. Oh, it's just local to New York, and so, or dead silence. So that tells you a lot, because they're willing to perpetuate the smear all day, every day, but not so much when you have a real case. And why is that? It doesn't fit the agenda.
Right. What were your feelings about Michael Jackson when he first contacted you? Did you have much to do with his story, or had you followed it much at that point?
I didn't, because I remember him from like Jackson 5. And Jackson 5 always made me very uncomfortable. When I would watch them perform, it's like that little kid looks like he's scared to death. That was my sense of it. And so I never was a follower of the Jackson 5. And then, I knew Michael Jackson's music, everybody did, but I was not a fan. I never been to a concert or had any connection with it at all. Mm-hmm. But when he came through, the very first thing when he came through was he said, "What happened? What happened?" And I said, "Michael, you died." And he said, "I've always been able to get back into my body before. How come I can't get back this time?"
He did used to have a lot of out-of-body experiences.
Well, that's what tells me that he, I come to find out later on that he did indeed partake in out-of-body experiences. But, this is like literally hours after he died. And then he also showed me the autopsy because of the stitching, the Y stitching, because he was literally over his body. And that's when it dawned on him that, oh, I'm not going to get back. Was when he saw that stitching, because he knew what that meant. So there was a lot of contact there originally. Just, he was in a flat panic. I popped out and I can't get back. And why can't I get back? So that was the original. And you'll notice in the very first channeled sessions that I did with him, he's got a lot of anxiety. He's very, very upset.
Just that how everything ended, or?
He was just in a panic because he was telling everybody before he died, they're trying to kill me, they're trying to kill me. So he knew, but it's one thing to say, I think everyone's trying to kill me. It's another for it to actually happen. And he did show me what occurred at the events of his death, and it isn't what you're seeing in the media at all. The whole thing with the propofol and all of that. The only way that your body can be flooded with propofol is if you're already dead when it gets put into your system.
Oh, so this is all in the channelings on your channel
goes
from the
through
beginning?
immediately. So the whole setup with Conrad Murray and all of that is a cover.
Did you know that there's a Twilight Zone episode that's very old that's about a doctor that was like something about murder or whatever. But anyway, the doctor's name on it was Conrad Murray.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Yeah, it always plays out in the media before, even the 9/11 attack is in a movie. It's always out there before it happens in real life.
Conrad Murray has a nice little thing in the International Movie Database too.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. But I was going to ask you if you know that. I had gotten a message that, and like I said, I'm not good at any of this or anything. It's mostly through the dream state and stuff. I'd only heard his voice like a couple times, but about that he was taking propofol though at times, but it was because he was having some bad experiences in the dream state sometimes. Does that resonate with you, Bonnie, or no?
No, not as far as what caused his death.
No, I'm talking about just using it in the past.
Why he was using it, right? I see.
Yeah, he didn't show me that. Let me see how much I can say, because this is a little dangerous to talk about, to be honest. But
I'm not going to ask any more questions about that.
But what he showed me was that he came into the house. He went into the master bedroom. Now, the Conrad Murray cover story always shows you the medicine room, and they try and conflate it with the master bedroom. That is not the master bedroom. So he went into the bathroom and changed into pajamas and just left whatever he was wearing on the floor. And as he was walking across the floor from the bathroom over through the master bedroom, which is not the room you see on the television stuff, into the master bedroom, he heard a pop noise, and he fell at that point. And that's when he left his body. Wow. And his heart stopped. So now that they don't have to worry about the cover story so much, now what you'll see them say is that he died of cardiac arrest. That's actually a true statement.
So it wasn't an aneurysm. What was the pop that he heard?
Well, that gets interesting because you can get people that do out of body will say that sometimes they hear a pop noise when their spirit separates from the physical.
Okay, right. I heard that too. Yeah.
But that's not what happened in this case, and that's probably as far as I want to take it.
Okay.
In a public
Understood.
forum.
Sure, understood.
But to say it was murder is absolutely accurate. And it also explains why Conrad Murray didn't go to jail for the rest of his life as well, because he didn't actually murder him. He was already dead.
Those kind of things a lot of people wouldn't understand too, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway,
It depends. It depends where you foray on the internet. If you listen to Project Camelot and some of the whistleblower testimony, you'll find some interesting information there. As far as they don't tie it directly back to him, but I've spoken to a few people and told them this is my impression. There was also one article that came out the day after he died, and it was in News of the World, which is now gone. And News of the World wound up going out of business because they were actually tapping people's phones. So it wasn't because the information wasn't accurate. It was too accurate because they were getting it illegally.
right.
Okay. So there was one article that actually said the truth of what happened. The other person who told the truth, so I can tell you where to go look. Oh gosh, he was the activist, older gentleman. And he passed away right before his book came out. He was going out doing the publicity circuit, and he said what happened to Michael Jackson.
Oh, was it him and his wife? Like, is the one that has a brother in the industry? No, wait, is it?
No, he was an activist like from the '60s forward.
We'll get somebody that our think tank here. The chat is great. I mean, we'll move on and then they'll chime in with the name. So
yeah, but it's in his book. So if you go get his book, then you'll also get the information. But there again, he's no longer living, and it's not because he was older. He went in to get a test done and never came out. Same with Joan Rivers. So you have to be careful.
Oh yeah, I thought that was kind of suspicious. What happened with her after she made some controversial statements. We'll leave it at that. But I did want to shift gears and I ask you about the energies and how they're affecting. Are you feeling a shift in the energies just in general? And if you are they affecting your gifts or making them better? Or, what do you have any comment on
that? Yes, the energies are shifting a lot, even throughout the day. And they're very intense. Mm-hmm. And so I take a lot of walks, get out in nature and just kind of chill out because it is very intense. The other thing that's coming through pretty often in I'm doing these little mini readings on Sundays. And it is a truism that all of us are supposed to be out here doing what we came here to do. Mm-hmm. So the 8 to 5 working for the man to pay the bills and all of that and the governments and everything else are all shifting over, and the transition is a very bumpy one. Mm-hmm. So we're in this transitory time, but the advice for everybody is to shift more into your creative gifts and soft skills. And it's interesting because if you match that up with the projections of AI and what they think artificial intelligence is going to be able to do, it's going to put most of us out of the regular work situation anyway. And the things that will remain are the touchy-feely soft things that AI can't do.
Because AI can do left brain analytical stuff, but not the right brain creative type stuff.
Right.
Like it couldn't just generate a story out of nothing like the human mind can do that, or dance or anything. It can only copy or analyze or calculate.
Right.
Sort of thing. Yeah. That's good advice.
Time to shift into those and to collaborate with other people, because the problem with shifting into the soft skills is that they're not valued with the dollar.
Oh yeah.
Sadly. And so that's the problem with most people don't want to shift it. They want to, but they feel like they can't because they've got bills to pay and all of that. But there is a way to just shift your focus so that you're carving out time for what your true purpose is. And then ultimately, to bring the higher level energies down into the third dimension and ground them down in, so that as you're going about your day-to-day job, you're still doing your energy work, regardless of what your employment is. you're bringing those skill sets in.
Well, I think what you're doing is also an art as well, and I think a lot of people are finding that they're starting to notice strange things. That's why this show Paranormal Frequencies is because what's sort of classified as paranormal is becoming more and more normal all the time. I mean, things are beginning to happen more frequently to more and more people as they realize that they are here for a mission, and they do have gifts. Some of them are dormant. Maybe they haven't used them since they were really young, and they've sort of tucked them away, or just new gifts coming on in general. And you're seeing this sort of, I don't know, just a rise in people's telepathic abilities and psychic
Right.
abilities. And it's just raising all together. That's why I asked you if it affected your gift at all, because, if you've already got it, I didn't know if it makes it better, or if you've already got it, you got it, or, you know what I mean? That's why I was kind of curious as more and more people are beginning to experience these things.
The gift is very strong. The probably the challenge is the balance.
Mm-hmm.
And people ask me this, when you channel, does it make you tired? Because if you're not doing it correctly, it'll make you tired.
Mm.
Uh, as in you're taking on other people's energy. You're doing the empath thing, and you're, they're upset because a family member passed away, and you're taking on that sadness, and that drains you and makes you tired.
Mm.
When you're channeling through the information, you can still have empathy, but you're not taking on those energies. That takes practice, and that takes balance. Now, when you're pure energy channeling, it's high energy. And Michael Jackson would understand this one very, very well, because when he went out on tour, he couldn't sleep when he got off stage. And I can relate to that, because when I do the channeling work, I'm so jazzed full of energy afterwards that I have to take time to wind myself back down also. And so, like I say, if you're trying to do any kind of healing or energy work, and you find that you're feeling drained and tired, then you need to work on putting those walls up, those protective walls up. You can
Wow. Did
you
that
can
take a
still
lot of
help.
practice for you to do that?
It does, and it's an ongoing thing, because things will affect you. If it touches a nerve in your own life, or uh,
Right. Yeah.
it definitely will affect you. And we're all here to learn too. So it's not, just because you're a channeler doesn't mean you don't have to go through all the life lessons. As a matter of fact, you probably go through more. That's the way they explained it to me. You have to go through all this stuff so that you can empathize when other people come to you and say, I understand. And you really do, because you've been there and you've done that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. Sherry, did you have any other questions?
Um,
I mean, we
I just
still have
have,
time. I just didn't want to run out of time, and you had any more questions. Okay,
well, I
so
was just gonna have her tell about her shirts and stuff later.
oh yeah, yeah, the one you're wearing right now. Let me make it big so everybody can see, because that's your own design right there.
Yeah, I try and there again, artwork is also another good way to release the energies and the creative
Mm-hmm.
flow, and to provide balance.
Yeah.
And so I do the mandalas, and then I refer to, it's on my shirt. So I'm a designer for Amazon. And so if you put my name in over at Amazon, you'll find all kinds of stuff. I have a book over there, I have videos over there, and I have the shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all taken from nature. And so they're nature globes. And so they all provide a feel good element to them. I also have kittens and bunnies, and things like that, with a choose love message on there. There again, love is a choice. And right now in particular, I keep getting hit with that same thing. It's like, you choose. Leadership doesn't choose, the boss doesn't choose, you choose. It's personal choice. What are you going to do? What direction are you going to take? And you have choices that you make a million times a day. Everything is a choice. And to stay in the awareness of that you're choosing, and you can choose differently. And if you don't like the choice that you made, no big deal, make a different choice. But there
Absolutely.
again, you have to be over on the magical. I call it the magical side, because in 3D sometimes it can be very difficult to make choices because you're affecting other people. And but energetically, if you're choosing to make a different choice, then you can chart your path to go in that different direction. So you still have the choice energetically, even if physically it can be a challenge. But if you do it energetically, then the physical stuff will fall into place and drop away, whatever needs to happen in order for you to follow that other path.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking about, you're doing work for clients from the other side, basically. Are you like laying up treasures in heaven, so to speak? 'Cause it can't be very profitable on this side of things, right?
Well, that's kind of my joke. It's not really a joke. And you kind of made mention of it too before, is that, all of my clients don't have, checkbooks and wallets, uh,
It's a good thing your heart's in it, right? Because a lot of this work is there's not a lot of money in it, but it is very fulfilling on from the heart aspect anyway.
well, the closer you get to fulfilling your purpose, usually the more joyful you are.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, sometimes it can be hard to stay motivated when it's just you, and it's like, okay, am I going to do all this work and put this thing together? And I find that I like it at the time I'm doing the channeling. That's my favorite thing. It's all the other things that I have to do to get the word out that it's there, and all the mechanics behind the scenes
Yeah.
that make it like, oh my gosh, this is a full-time job just to do this 1 hour. Well, you probably know, it's a
Oh,
full-time job
absolutely.
just to do this 1 hour thing once a week.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of work involved. A lot of small things. I mean, it can get tedious at times, but as long as you're keeping that core thing that you love to do involved, and everything sort of surrounding that, it's okay to get on social media and promote it and do all that stuff. But yeah, it can get tiring.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good that, to at least give people an awareness that we really are putting a labor of love into it. It isn't just that hour that they see where they're interacting with you, and you know, it's a lot. It's a lot to ask a person to do
Yeah.
and to keep putting out there. So yeah, your heart is definitely in it. The ones whose heart's not in it are going to come and go and be gone shortly.
Right. Or get in line and start pushing the fear message. It seems like you get promoted really nicely if you just, fall in line and obey the rules, so to speak, the unwritten rules. You know what I mean? So, do
Yeah,
you do everything online, or do you do anything in person? Do you have like an office, or do you just pretty much work online with your services?
I pretty much work online, but I have done some live events, which
Mm-hmm.
are interesting too. I got here locally, metaphysical type shops and things like that,
Mm.
and do channeling for groups of people. I've done a few of those. Um, it's interesting because you would expect, as a business person, you would expect the audience to build and grow, but it really doesn't, because people are afraid to tell their friends that they went and saw this. And so you're
Right.
still fighting a taboo. It's okay to talk about like the ghost hunter shows because that's in the culture, but these other elements are still not something that people feel comfortable talking about yet. And it's too
Oh.
bad, because if you say something to literally anybody walking past you, if you say, have you ever had an experience, and most of them have, if you start first, they'll come right in with a story right behind you.
Mhm.
I think that's part of the shift that we're going through, because you're seeing more and more people come out and they're feeling more comfortable about, especially coming on outlets like this. We have people that share, they feel comfortable sharing it here with the group of other people, experiencers of, many, many types or whatever. But I think we're seeing this shift, and, it's really expanding awareness is what we're needing before people can, it's just more of a normal thing, because it really is normal, but it's, when you got so many, I don't know, world views that look down on it or look at it in a very negative or evil light, then
Right.
people are afraid of it. Everything's, everybody's limited by their fear, though. You know what I mean?
We've
It
been we've
always
been
comes back to
we've
that.
been taught not to explore our environment.
Right.
Everything tells us don't go there, don't look behind the scenes, And I tell people it's like I feel like Glenda the Good Witch and the Wizard of Oz with the Munchkins. It's okay to come out. It's okay. Don't be afraid. And really, the more we talk about it, the more people are going to realize, oh my gosh, I didn't realize everybody else around me felt similarly to the way I do.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
there's not a lot of funding as far as science, and so that's one of the things they throw at you is like there's no scientific evidence.
Right.
Not to be confused with we never looked because it wasn't funded.
Right.
It's not the same as no scientific evidence. That to me, that is I looked and found nothing. The
Yeah,
fact you did
absolutely.
not look does not mean there's no evidence. You just
Absolutely.
didn't look. And so people get caught up in those kind of things where, they take this hard line, and science is not supposed to be a hard line. We know what we know until we know something different. And that's
It's
the
almost like a religion in many ways. I mean, people get ostracized if they show any kind of artifacts they find, and it sort of questions or challenges the official scientific narrative. Then it's seen
yeah,
as an anomalous item, and then that person is seen as too fringe for mainstream. And
right.
everybody distances themselves from these
Well, and
true
they
scientists.
they take away their funding. And
Right?
so they're, as soon as the money's gone, they're not looking anymore.
Yeah, it really is a shame because I know a lot of scientists got into it because of the heart of exploration and discovery, and they really, stifle that when they say, hey, support this worldview or theory with your stuff. If it doesn't fit it, then, people are just afraid to talk about it, I guess,
Yeah.
the repercussions. Well,
Well, the only
awesome.
the only theoretical physicist you see kind of out and about is Michio Kaku.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he talks a lot about one world government and all of that. So sounds like agenda driven to me, but
Yeah, there's a couple like that, but yeah, they seem to push similar narratives that are mainstream, I guess. Well,
And
awesome.
just to also throw out there that she does tarot cards too, right?
uh, in a very loose sense, the sessions that I'm doing on Sundays, I actually took a survey. It's a little difficult to channel and look at a chat. As a matter of fact, it's impossible to channel and look at a chat room. But you can channel for a few minutes and then come back out and then do the chat room. So that's what's going on right now. And I'm actually being told that it is a project from the other side that they are participating in. And as usual, they tell me nothing until like, okay, everything is on a trust basis of blind trust. Um, but the messages coming through are all from people that were famous in their day, whether it be Michael Jackson or we also talked to Lottie Bernard, who people keep referring to as Kate Morgan from the Hotel del Coronado. And then we talked with, on yesterday, we talked with Jesse Shepard of Villa Montezuma fame, who was also a very famous musician and author. And they're bringing forward messages, like I say, to the creative and musicians, dancers, all the creative people that are living their lives now, and talking about the fact that their information was given to them, they channeled it and brought it into the third dimension, and they want them to carry forward and do those same things. So they're putting out very positive, encouraging messages, telling people, come on, let's do our, and they're actually talking about individually with everybody doing their thing and becoming joyful as a result, that you actually change the vibration of the planet, because
Hmm.
we are very upside down. Everything we seem to see is filtered with a negative filter, or you don't see it. If it's good news, you don't hear about it. You only hear about disasters, that kind of thing. And so they're saying it's up to us to bring our energies up and make them more positive out this way, as opposed to waiting for some leadership on high to say, okay, now it's going to be peaceful and loving, and it doesn't work that way. So it's about individual contribution into that energy. Instead of being beaten down by it, be empowered and say, oh, the hell with you, I'm going to go do my own thing and I'm going to kick butt, and you can, there's so many free tools online right now that you don't even need a whole lot of money to get started, with doing your thing.
And I think that's one of the things I was realizing, that one of the reasons why we have you on is because there seems to be shadow banning or suppression of information on so many levels. And when we have people like you on here, then we can introduce our audience to you, and we don't really need the algorithm to sort of connect us. We can connect with one another, because I see this happening on such a microscopic scale, where people are realizing, hey, I'm here to do something more. And they feel alone, and many times a lot of the viewers here have like, wow, I didn't know there were other people that felt like this and are here to make a change. So I'm really thankful for what you do and helping bring people together, and I hope my audience will go over and check out your website. Is there any events that you have coming up that you want to talk about? I do have your website, your YouTube channel, and let's see. Is there any other things you want to mention before we head out on this one?
No, not really. I mean, I'm doing the shows. I'm probably not going to do it this coming Sunday because it's Father's Day, so I'm probably going to switch to Saturday. But I'm trying to do one show a week, which is the channeling and the little mini tarot. Oh, I forgot to answer your question on that. I am not a tarot reader. I am not a practiced tarot reader, but those cards are helpful to start conversation with people, because it's a familiar tool. As I was saying to you before, I never use tools. I just tune in and blat. There it is. Take it or don't. It's up to you. But it is a good conversation starter. And so if people don't know what questions they want to ask, they can say, would you just pull a card for me? And so I pull a card and I interpret the card. So what you're actually getting is my mediumship skills and a card that, because it always works that way, matches what I'm already intuitively getting.
Oh, that's neat.
It resonates with the person. So I always do everything backwards, in case you hadn't noticed. I don't do anything the way anyone else does.
But it works, and it works well for you. So that's a good thing that you don't need the tools. I mean, I'm sure mechanics would love to walk up to an engine and fix it without the tools, right? So, but they can be handy for some people. I can definitely see that, or feeling comfortable, like what you're saying. So that's really awesome.
Well, professional tarot readers look at me and go, yeah, who are you fooling? Because they've studied, and each card means a particular thing and all of that. But the ones that are more experienced will also say that your own intuitive interpretation is more meaningful than the actual card itself.
Yeah, the card can only say so much. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So some people only get to the point where they're just taking down the definition of the card, because there's a little pocket book that tells you what the definition of the card is. The next level really is to use your own intuitive skills on what are you getting, what does that card mean to you.
Well, that's really cool. So I really want to thank you for coming on, and thank Sherry for getting you on here, and thank the audience for watching.
I'm more than happy to collaborate. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And the banning is a very real thing, even for those of us that are on the smaller end. If you're doing anything that's about self-empowerment and all that, it seems like there's powers that be that don't want this information out there, that you actually are more powerful than you think you are.
I take it as a badge of honor, to be completely honest with you. If they started promoting me, I'd be really suspicious. Like, what did I start talking about that made it okay? Why did they unban me? Something's wrong. I'd be more worried than I don't worry. I know, I trust that the higher ups will get the people here, and we'll make connections like we have with you, and we'll all find each other eventually. So I'm not worried about it at all.
Well, people just need to keep seeking what information they're trying to find, and you'll find it. We're planting seeds out here for other people to find. And it may be years from now that you find this interview and you say, oh my gosh, that just opens up this whole thing for me.
Yeah.
And I think Sherry had a very similar experience from what she was saying earlier, that, you know, she had this whole private thing going on, and then she ran into my videos and went, oh my gosh, this explains so much.
And then it was a confirmation to what she'd experienced. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of it is planting seeds for people that come behind us.
I appreciate you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Well, lots of love and light to all of you guys in the chat. Thanks so much for being here, and everyone watching later. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks again, Bonnie.
Oh, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.